Blessed One was living in Kosambi in Gosita's park. Now, on that occasion, the monks at Kosambi had taken to quarreling and brawling and were in deep disputes, stabbing each other with verbal daggers. Now, the reason that this dispute happened was because there was 2 monasteries in this village. One of them was a Sutta monastery, and one of them was a Vinaya monastery. Vinaya is the rules of the monks. And the Sutta monastery went to visit the Vinaya monastery. So the head monk came over and wanted to talk. And at one point, the Sutta master had to go to the bathroom. So he found out where it was and he went to the bathroom. Now in Asia, they don't have toilet paper. They use water. And when he cleaned himself off, he left a little bit of water in the scooping bowl. And the Vinaya monk went in after him and saw that he'd left some water in the scooping bowl. And when he got done with his business, he came out and said to the Sutta master, "Did you know that you just broke a rule?" Now the Vinaya people, the monks that practice Vinaya, they're really, really strict with all different forms of following rules. And the Sutta master said, "No, I didn't realize that." And the Vinaya master said, "Well, you left a little bit of water in that bowl, and when you do that, then beings can come in and lay eggs, and if you use it again, then it's going to be killing living beings." So the Sutta master said, "Thank you very much, I won't do that again." When the Sutta master left, the Vinaya master went to his students and said, "How can this monk do this? It's such a simple thing. Everybody knows that you can't leave water in the scooping bowl." And he pretty heavily criticized. The next morning, the students went out on an alms round, and they ran across the Sutta students that had gone out on alms round and told them how bad their teacher was because he left a little bit of water in the bowl. And he should know better than that, and he should not do that sort of thing. So the Sutta students went back and told the Sutta master, and the Sutta master criticized the Vinaya monastery for criticizing. And then they just started fighting back and forth. And they were stabbing each other with verbal daggers. They were saying all kinds of nasty things to each other. So they asked the Buddha to come to this spot and get them to stop fighting.
Were these all followers of the Buddha?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're both monasteries. Okay. Then a certain monk went to the Blessed One. After paying homage to him, he stood at one side and said, "Venerable Sir." The Buddha was planning on spending the whole rains retreat in this town. "Venerable Sir, the monks here at Kosambi have taken to quarreling and brawling and are in deep dispute, stabbing each other with verbal daggers. It would be good, Venerable Sir, if the Blessed One would go to these monks out of compassion." The Blessed One consented in silence. He just shook his head, yes. Then the Blessed One went to those monks and said, "Enough, monks. Let there be no quarreling and brawling, wrangling, or dispute." When this was said, a certain monk said to the Blessed One, "Wait, Venerable Sir. Let the Blessed One, the Lord of the Dhamma, live at ease, devoted to a pleasant abiding here and now. We are the ones who will be responsible for this quarreling and brawling and wrangling and dispute." I couldn't imagine saying something like that to the Buddha. You know, it's kind of like saying, "Get away from me, boy, you bother me. Let us take care of our own problems." A second time and a third time the Blessed One said, "Enough, let there be no quarreling and brawling, wrangling, or dispute." The second and third time that monk said to the Blessed One, "Wait, Venerable Sir, we are the ones responsible for this quarreling, brawling, wrangling, and dispute." Then, when it was morning, the Blessed One, dressed, taking his bowl and outer robe, went into Kosambi for alms. When he had wandered for alms in Kosambi and had returned with his alms round, after his alms round, he ate his meal and set his resting place in order, took his bowl and outer robe, and while standing, uttered these stanzas. The Buddha never gave a Dhamma talk when he was standing. So he said, "When many voices shout at once, none considers himself a fool. Though the Sangha is being split, none thinks himself to be at fault. They have forgotten thoughtful speech. They talk obsessed by words alone. Uncurbed their mouths, they brawl at will. None knows what leads him to so to act. He abused me, he beat me, he defeated me, he robbed me." Does this sound familiar? In those who harbor such thoughts, hatred is never appeased. He abused me, he beat me, he defeated me, he robbed me. In those who do not harbor such thoughts, hatred is appeased. For in this world, hatred is never overcome by further acts of hate. It is only overcome by non-hatred. That is the fixed and ageless law. Those who do not recognize that here we should restrain ourselves. But those wise ones who realize this at once end all enmity. Breakers of bones and murderers, those who steal cattle, horses, and wealth, those who pillage the entire realm, when even these can act together, why can you not do so too? If one can find a worthy friend, a virtuous, steadfast companion, then overcome all threats of danger and walk with him content and mindful. But if one finds no worthy friend, no virtuous, steadfast companion, then as a king leaves his conquered realm, he walks like a tusker in the woods alone. Better is it to walk alone. There is no companionship with fools. Walk alone and do no evil, at ease like a tusker in the woods. Then, having uttered these stanzas while standing, the Blessed One went to the village. On that occasion, the Venerable Bhagu was living in that village. Then the Venerable Bhagu saw the Blessed One coming in the distance, prepared a seat, and made water ready for washing his feet. The Blessed One sat down on a seat made ready and washed his feet. The Venerable Bhagu paid homage to the Blessed One and sat down at one side. The Blessed One said to him, "I hope you are keeping well, monk. I hope you are comfortable. I hope you are not having any trouble with alms food." "I am keeping well, Blessed One. I am comfortable, and I am not having any trouble getting alms food." Then the Blessed One instructed, urged, roused, and gladdened the Venerable Bhagu on a talk on the Dhamma. After which he rose from his seat and he went to the Eastern Bamboo Park. Now, what happened to these monks is everybody in town got really ticked off because the Buddha left. And they refused to give the monks food.
Was this venerable in the monastery? This Bhagu?
No, it's not the same one.
Oh, okay.
And because they didn't get any food, and they would question, "Why aren't you giving food like you normally do?" And they said, "Because you're quarreling. And it's your fault that the Buddha is not spending the rains retreat here." So they stopped quarreling. But they still had trouble getting food for that whole 3 months. They didn't eat well at all. So when the Buddha went to the Eastern Bamboo Park, on that occasion, the Venerable Anuruddha, the Venerable Nandya, and the Venerable Kimbila were living in the Eastern Park. The park keeper saw the Blessed One coming in the distance and told him, "Do not enter this park, recluse. There are 3 clansmen here seeking their own good. Do not disturb them." The Venerable Anuruddha heard the park keeper speaking to the Blessed One and told him, "Friend park keeper, do not keep the Blessed One out. It is our teacher, the Blessed One, who has come." Then the Venerable Anuruddha went to the Venerable Nandya and the Venerable Kimbila and said, "Come, Venerable Sirs, come out. Our teacher, the Blessed One, has come." Then all 3 went to meet the Blessed One, took his bowl and outer robe. One prepared a seat, one set out water for washing the feet. The Blessed One sat down on a seat made ready and washed his feet. At this time, they didn't allow sandals. So whenever you went any place, you would always wash your feet before you went inside. Then these 3 venerable ones paid homage to the Blessed One and sat down at one side. And the Blessed One said to them, "I hope you're keeping well, Anuruddha. I hope you are comfortable." Anuruddha was Ananda's older brother. Okay. "I hope you're comfortable. I hope you're not having any trouble getting alms food. We are keeping well, Blessed One. We're comfortable and we're not having any trouble getting alms food. I hope, Anuruddha, that you are all living in concord with mutual appreciation without disputing, blending like milk and water, viewing each other with kindly eyes. Surely, Venerable Sir, we're living in concord with mutual appreciation without disputing, blending like milk and water, viewing each other with kindly eyes. But Anuruddha, how do you live thus? Venerable Sir, as to that, I think thus. It is a gain for me. It is a great gain for me that I'm living with such companions in the holy life. I maintain bodily acts of loving kindness towards these venerable ones, both openly and privately. I maintain verbal acts of loving kindness toward them, both openly and privately. I maintain mental acts of loving kindness towards them, both openly and privately. I consider, why should I not set aside what I wish to do and do what these venerable ones wish to do? Then I set aside what I wish to do and do what the venerable ones wish to do. We are different in body, venerable sir, but one in mind. The Venerable Nandya and Venerable Kimbila each spoke likewise, adding, "This is how, Venerable Sir, we're living in concord with mutual appreciation, without disputing, blending like milk and water, viewing each other with kindly eyes." Good, good Anuruddha, I hope you all abide diligent, ardent, and resolute. Surely, Venerable Sir, we abide diligent, ardent, and resolute. But Anuruddha, how do you abide thus? Venerable Sir, as to that, whichever of us returns first from the village with alms food, prepares the seats, sets out the water for drinking and for washing, and puts the refuge bucket in its place. Whichever of us returns last, eats any food left over if he wishes, otherwise he throws it away where there's no greenery or drops it in water where there's no life. He puts away the seats and the water for drinking and washing. He puts away the refuge bucket after washing it. He sweeps out the refectory. Whoever notices that the pots of water for drinking or washing or for the latrine are low or empty takes care of them. If they're too heavy for him, he calls someone else by a signal with the hand, and they move it, joining hands. But because of that, they do not break into speech. But every 5 days, we sit together all night discussing the Dhamma. That is how we abide diligent, ardent, and resolute. Good, good Anuruddha, while you abide thus diligent, ardent, and resolute, have you attained any superhuman states, a distinction in knowledge and vision worthy of the noble ones, a comfortable abiding? What he's asking here is, have you gotten into jhana? Okay? Venerable Sir, as we abide here diligent, ardent, and resolute, we perceive both radiance and vision of forms. Soon afterwards, the radiance and vision of forms disappear. But we do not discover the cause of that. You should discover the cause of that, Anuruddha. Before my awakening, while I was still only an unawakened bodhisattva, I too perceived both radiance and vision of forms. Soon afterwards, the radiance and vision of forms disappear. I thought, now this is the question that I've talked to some people about, to ask themselves, what is the cause and condition? Why the radiance and vision of forms have disappeared? When you keep running across the same hindrance, It keeps coming back and keeps coming back. You need to ask yourself the question, what is the cause of this? How come I'm not generally like this? I don't generally have restlessness. Why is it arising now? Now, this happened a long time ago when I first started meditating in San Jose. There was a man that came to do a retreat, and he was the only person doing the meditation. And I was kind of the handyman of the place, and the place was in not great shape, so I was doing all kinds of different things, cleaning up and fixing windows and doing things like that. And the teacher came to me and he said, I want you to do a retreat, so he doesn't do it alone. Now, I'd just gotten done with a 1-month retreat, so he wants me to do another. Okay, fine. So I started meditating, and I'm not one that's prone to a lot of restlessness. And my mind was incredibly restless. I couldn't stay on the object of meditation more than 2 or 3 seconds before it'd take off and do something else. And after a couple of days of this, it started really bothering me. And I thought, why is this happening? And then I just kind of let that thought go, and I started meditating again. And my intuition told me, you don't really want to be meditating because you have all these other things you want to do. And I started considering the reason that I came to the meditation center was I wanted to meditate. I have a beautiful opportunity to meditate, and I'm thinking about all this other stuff. I'll let it go. After that, I had no more restlessness. Okay, so you have an expectation. You have an idea of the way you want things to go. That's exactly what's not going to happen. Okay, you have to let go of that. You don't know what's going to happen next. The roof can fall down and kill all of us right now. Do you know whether that's going to happen or not? No, so don't think about it. Don't worry about it. Let it go. So this is an important question to ask. What is stopping my progress? What is slowing down my progress? And you only have to ask it one time. Let it go. Don't think about it anymore. And your intuition will tell you, oh, this is something. Now, when I was in Korea, there was a man that he got to neither perception nor non-perception pretty quickly. He was really good. He'd practiced meditation a lot. So he advanced very quickly. And then he stayed there. And he started to get a little bit antsy about it. Why isn't more, why, there's something wrong with this practice. So I told him, you have to ask yourself this question. So he intellectually tried to tell me there's nothing that's blocking my practice. And finally I said, it comes to you as an insight. You have to ask your question while you're sitting, and the answer will come. The next day he came, and he sat down, and he said, I've now stopped waiting. So his waiting for Nibbana to occur was the very thing that stopped it from occurring because he had an attachment. The answer can be any sort of thing. As simple as, well, I got to do other things. So you start putting in too much energy and too much effort, and you get restless. So you ask yourself the question, why is this happening? What can I do to overcome this hindrance? And then the answer comes, you don't want to be here. Well, I'm here to meditate. That's why I'm staying at this place. So let go of that desire. I can do all this other stuff later. And then meditation was great after that. So what is the cause and condition why this hindrance is there? Then I considered thus doubt arose in me. Because of doubt, my collectedness fell away. When my collectedness fell away, my object of meditation disappeared. I shall so act that doubt will not arise in me again. As Anaruddha, I was abiding, diligent, ardent, and resolute. I perceived my object of meditation disappeared. Soon afterwards, I perceived the object of meditation. Soon afterwards, the object of meditation disappeared. I thought, what is the cause and condition why the object of meditation disappeared? Then I considered thus, inattention arose in me, and because of inattention, my collectedness fell away. When my collectedness fell away, the object of meditation disappeared. What does inattention mean? It means ho-humming, letting your mind just, yeah, I'm on the object of meditation, kinda. And you have other thoughts coming in. So you're with your object of meditation, but you're thinking about something else. Okay, so you're not being attentive. And that is a kind of hindrance. And that stops you from staying with your object of meditation. I shall act so that neither doubt nor inattention will arise in me again. As Anaruddha, I was abiding, diligent, ardent, and resolute. The object of meditation disappeared. I considered sloth and torpor arose in me after asking the question. And because of sloth and torpor, my collectedness fell away. When my collectedness fell away, my object of meditation disappeared. I shall so act that neither doubt nor inattention nor sloth and torpor will arise in me again. Why does sloth and torpor arise? Why does torpor arise? Not enough interest in staying with your object of meditation. That's the first cause of it. And then these little tiny thoughts come in. And you're still kind of staying with the object of meditation, but not really. Now, one of the things that's not mentioned here is some people get bored with their object of meditation. I'm bored. And because of that, they're not able to stay with their object of meditation very well. And they come complaining to me about, I'm bored with this. Can I do another kind of meditation? No. You have to stay with this. Who's bored? After the discourse last night, that's an interesting question, isn't it? Who doesn't want to stay with their object of meditation. Now, when boredom comes up, for me, that's a real good sign. Because that means that you've worked real hard getting to this place, and your mindfulness slipped a little bit. Now you have boredom there, and you have to go through the boredom. It's just showing you your condition. Okay? We're in a society where an awful lot of people like to be entertained. And doing the same thing over and over again with your object of meditation, your mind says, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm bored. Same thing, over and over and over again. So if somebody comes to me and they say they're bored, I kind of smile and say, good. Go through it. Who's bored? Whose mindfulness has slipped away? Who's identifying with that feeling and causing themselves suffering? Go through it. Oh, but I'd do better if I could have another spiritual friend to send the loving kindness to. No, stay with the same one. Go through it. So it's the same with sloth and torpor. You have to go through it. And I've already given you ideas of how to do that. As Anuruddha, I was abiding, diligent, ardent, and resolute. Then it fell away and I lost my object of meditation. I asked the question, what's the cause and condition? Why is this object of meditation gone away? I considered thus, fear arose in me. Because of fear, my collectedness fell away. When my collectedness fell away, the object of meditation disappeared. Suppose a man set out on a journey, and murderers leapt out on both sides of him. Then fear would arise in him because of that, So too fear arose in me. My object of meditation disappeared. I considered thus, I shall so act that neither doubt, nor inattention, nor sloth and torpor, nor fear will arise in me again. A lot of times, people are sitting in meditation and fear arises and they go, well, I don't have anything to be afraid of. Why am I afraid? Why is this fear here? Fear arises as you continually do the 6 R's and you're letting go of the craving and the belief in a self. And your mind doesn't like that. So it will finally go, okay, well, I'm going to distract you a good one this time and cause this fear to arise. And it's a fear of seeing that everything is impersonal and that I am not there. Now, this is a deep-seated fear because how many lifetimes have you gone through and believed that I am? I am these thoughts, I am these feelings. And now all of a sudden you're letting go of that craving that you've been carrying around since time immemorial. That was one of Manindra's favorite sayings. now you're letting go of that and your mind is going, wait a minute, I am here. And if you don't believe it, I'm going to make you afraid. Okay, so you just gently 6R it. Okay, fine. You can do that. You can be there. It's not me. It's not mine. I certainly didn't ask it to come up. It's just fear. So you allow it to be there. Now, fear is kind of an interesting thing. When fear is real strong, the first thing you'll notice is your stomach is tight, your shoulders get pulled up real far, your buttocks gets very tight, and you're ready to run. Okay? So when fear is real strong, first thing you want to do is relax your body. Relax your shoulders. Relax that tightness in your stomach. Relax the muscles in the back of your legs. Now, and you 6R, of course. Now, you see that tight mental fist wrapped around that. I don't like this fear. And it's okay to have fear. It has to be okay to have fear, because when it arises, it's there. That's the Dhamma. That's the truth of the present moment. So you allow that fear to be there. It's not yours anyway. You can't control it. You can't change it. You can't make it go away. All you can do is allow it to be there. Relax into that. Relax that tightness in your head and in your mind. Come back to your object of meditation with a smile. Okay, it comes up again. Fine. I don't care if it comes up 100 times. Actually, it would be good if it comes up 100 times, because it helps improve your mindfulness. Every time you let go of a hindrance and relax and smile and come back to your object of meditation, it is improving your mindfulness, your observation power. So if you keep doing that over and over again, it might get tiresome doing it, but your mind is helping you to develop your mindfulness. And when you finally have enough mindfulness, then the hindrance, the fear, fades away, doesn't come back anymore. Now you go deeper into your practice, because your mind is clear, because you've let go of an attachment. This is a good thing. People come to me all the time and they go, oh, I had a great meditation. And I was able to sit for a long time and stay with my spiritual friend, and everything was just great. And I kind of go, okay, continue. But when people come to me and they start going, oh man, this is hard. This hindrances just keeps coming back over and over and over again. Do you 6R it? Yeah, I 6R it, but it doesn't work. Well, of course it works. You know that it works. But it keeps coming back. Good. It's helping you. It's helping you develop your mindfulness, so that when that attachment finally lets go, when you purify your mind of that attachment, now you can go deeper into your practice, and then you can start seeing other things and how they arise. So it's really a good thing to have hindrances. They are your teacher. They are showing you exactly where your attachment is, and it is helping you to strengthen your mindfulness so you can stay on your object of meditation for a longer period of time. So the hindrance is your best friend. Absolutely, it is your best friend. Because it's teaching you how dependent origination works. How's it doing that? By pulling your attention away from your object of meditation and being a distraction. So you have to work with it over and over and over again, and you become familiar with how your mind's attention moves. And then you start seeing, right before your mind got really carried away, there was something else that happened right before that. You let go and relax and smile and come back, and then your mind gets pulled back, and when that little thing before getting carried away arises, you 6R right then. After you 6R, that enough, then you'll see there's something that happens right before that. So you're teaching yourself that everything that happens, one, is part of an impersonal process, and it has a definite pattern to it. So it's a real important thing not to fight with your hindrance, but to realize it's only this feeling. And I didn't even ask it to come up. I can't make it go away. So I have to allow it to be there because it's the truth. It's there. And the more you allow and open up and soften your mind and relax and smile and come back to your object of meditation, the better your meditation becomes. So when you come and complain to me about how hard the meditation is, yeah, good. That is really a good thing, because now you have to work. Now you're teaching yourself how this process works. Now you're having to roll up your sleeves and really do it. When you come to me and you have all of this wonderful experience in staying with your object of meditation, that's good, but that's the candy. You'll lose the candy before long, and now you've got another hindrance to work with. And that's a good thing. So many people, they have this idea that the Bodhisattva on the night of his enlightenment, that he had great meditation. Well, the first part of his meditation, he was attacked by the hindrances. Big time. And what was his mind doing? He was probably one of the most advanced meditators in the world at that time, but he still had hindrances come up. Okay? So what was his mind doing? His mind was helping him to develop his mindfulness, so his mind became more clear and pure, and he let go of all of those hindrances. Then he got into the jhanas. Then he saw past lifetimes. Then he saw all of the different realms and attained nibbana. So when you come and you tell me, most of the time my meditation is great, you might even be in the realm of neither perception nor non-perception, and you get attacked by all of these hindrances. Good. Keep 6Ring. Be patient. It will fade away. Everything changes. And that's helping you go deeper. That means you get one step closer to the experience of Nibbana. As Anaruta, I was abiding, diligent, ardent, and resolute. My object of meditation disappeared. After asking the question, this has got ... so I'm kind of ad-libbing a little here. After asking the question, what's the cause and condition? Why is this happening? I considered elation arose in me. Because of elation, my collectedness fell away. When my collectedness fell away, my object of meditation disappeared. Suppose a man seeking one entrance to a hidden treasure came all at once upon 5 entrances to hidden treasure. Then elation would arise in him because of that. So too elation arose in me, the object of meditation disappeared. I considered thus, I shall act that neither doubt nor inattention nor sloth and torpor then he went ... so I gotta get the other ones. Inattention, sloth and torpor, fear and elation will not arise again. Elation, the close enemy of loving kindness is uncontrolled laughter. Okay? You can have a chuckle, but when you start laughing and you start rolling around and beating on things and laughing and laughing and laughing and tears come out your eyes, that is a hindrance to the practice. It dissipates your mindfulness and it dissipates your collectedness. So if laughter starts coming up and it's like it's uncontrolled, I can't make it stop. You have to start 6Ring that and not get involved with the happy feeling of laughter. Another enemy of loving kindness is, and the reason that I don't want you to practice sending loving kindness to a family member to start off with, is if the family member becomes sick, you become way over sad and you lose your balance of mind. So it's a kind of an important thing not to use a family member to start off with, but someone that you're a little bit more distant to. Also with family members, the family member does something that you don't necessarily like, and then you start sending loving and kind thoughts to them, and all of a sudden it's hatred that you're sending because you don't like something that they did. But with a spiritual friend, that doesn't come up so much if there's a little bit more distant. And eventually, I'll give you family members to radiate loving kindness to, but you have to have a certain degree of balance in your mind before I'll give that to you. As Anaruta, I was abiding, diligent, ardent, and resolute. My object of meditation disappeared. I ask, what is the cause and condition? Why the object of meditation has disappeared? I considered thus, inertia arose in me. Because of inertia, my collectedness fell away. When my collectedness fell away, the object of meditation disappeared. I shall so act that neither doubt nor inattention nor elation nor inertia will arise in me again. What is inertia? No? Way back when I was an athlete and playing basketball, we played basketball so much of the time that we started getting stale. And then the coach would say, okay, this is what's happening to you. You need to let go and let's play some games. So we started playing different kinds of games. And that kind of revitalized our enthusiasm, and then we carried on and we were back to normal. Okay? So getting stale means inertia. Your mind just gets to a certain point, you've done it so long, it just says, nothing's happening. So it blocks you. It blocks you from going deeper. So what do I tell you to do? Why don't you go out for a walk and just enjoy it?
You sent us to the river.
I sent you to the river. Remember that? I went one morning. They'd been meditating for a long time. And they were getting stale. So I walked in and I said, I don't want you to meditate at all today. I want you to go down to the river. I want you to have fun. The only thing I want you to do is smile, and any time you notice an unwholesome thought arise, let it go and laugh. Go. I don't want to see you again all day. So at 6 o'clock for the Dhamma talk, I walked in, I said, well, how was your meditation today? And Erwin says, oh, we didn't meditate today, we had fun. And I said, good meditation, isn't it? So when there's inertia, when you're starting to get a little bit stale in the meditation, it doesn't have a lot of energy. It doesn't mean you stop meditating. It just means you change a little bit and go out and enjoy and laugh and smile and have fun. That's what the Buddha was talking about anyway, wasn't it? Having an uplifted mind. So I'm kind of sneaky sometimes. So I'll have you do that sort of thing. And he still hasn't forgiven me. Okay. As Anuruddha, I was abiding diligent, ardent, and resolute. My object of meditation disappeared. I considered thus: excess of energy arose in me. Because of an excess of energy, my collectedness fell away. When my collectedness fell away, the object of meditation disappeared. Suppose a man were to grip a quail tightly with both hands. It would die then and there. So too, excess of energy arose in me. My object of meditation disappeared. I considered thus: I shall so act that neither doubt nor inattention nor inertia or excess of energy will arise in me again. Excess of energy, trying too hard?
People actually have that.
Does that sound familiar to anyone? one of the biggest problems I have teaching is everybody, just about everybody that comes and practices with me has had another practice. And in that other practice, their teacher has told them you have to try harder. You really have to put in a lot of effort. I had one Vipassana teacher that said, now you get up at 3 o'clock, you go to bed at 11 o'clock. That is 50,000 seconds. And I want you to note once a second. Yeah. That's what I said. But that's the kind of energy and effort they're trying to get you to put out. And as a result of putting out that kind of energy and effort, you have restlessness. And your mind becomes confused. And there's all of these problems that arise from too much energy. So I'm continually reminding people, you're trying too hard. Laugh with that. Smile more. Back off. You don't have to try to make something happen. It will happen all naturally. Every one of the steps that you go through in meditation, it happens because you got out of the way and allowed the meditation to do its magic. So if you don't push or try, and you allow and gently 6R, you'll get back on the path very easily, and you won't have that excess of energy.
Bhante, I don't know if you remember, but I'll remind you that the first retreat I did with you 3 years ago, I was talking to you about my practice, and I said, oh, I'm a little tired, but I'm working through it, and you said, tell you what, it was like 2 in the afternoon, and he said, after the interview, I said, when you get done with this interview, I want you to go back to your quarters and lay down and sleep as long as you can. And this is in the middle of the day, because we come from the same school of like endless effort. I said, I just, really that's the thing to do. And of course, I ended up going back and laying down. I slept well over an hour. And I woke up and I went, boy, I've really blown it now. Anyway, all right, I'll meditate. So I meditated, and well, to tell you what the result was, we were both walking to the meditation hall and intersected or somewhere around the dining room. You said, how's it going? And I was speechless. All I could say was, wow. So that's the strongest testimonial I can imagine. It was just it was a new game, the new sheriff was around.
We all take a nap.
So that moral.
And it was the impersonal sheriff.
He was a police officer.
Okay. As Anaruddha, I was abiding, diligent, ardent, and resolute. My object of meditation disappeared. I asked the question, what is the cause and condition? Why is this happening? I considered thus, deficiency of energy arose in me. Because of the deficiency of energy, my collectedness fell away. When my collectedness fell away, my object of meditation disappeared. Suppose a man were to grip a quail loosely, it would fly out of his hands. So too a deficiency of energy arose in me. The object of meditation disappeared. I considered thus: I shall so act that neither doubt nor inattention nor excess of energy nor deficiency of energy will arise in me again. Deficiency of energy is a lack of interest. Okay, and you start humming a little bit, and I don't feel like it, and then that doubt comes up again, boredom comes up, the mind starts just taking off on itself because you are doing the same thing over and over and over and over until you get it right. Okay, so there is a lot of repetition in this practice, and it takes a certain degree of interest of staying with your object of meditation to progress. So this is like the story about the lute and taking the strings, and you have to, if you have it too tight, it doesn't sound right. You have it too loose, that string doesn't sound right. You have to adjust so that it's just right, so it sounds perfect. Okay, this is the energy that I'm talking about with staying with your object of meditation. If you have too much energy, you get restless. If you don't have quite enough energy, you get sleepy and dull. And what you have to do, and this is a big problem for a lot of people, they say they're sloth and torpor, and all of a sudden they snap up and they sit real straight and they stay with the object of meditation about 10 seconds, and all of a sudden it starts fading away because their interest is not keen enough. So the deficiency of energy and the excess of energy is something that you get to work with until you become an arahant. So you have to be real familiar with these things. You have to be able to recognize them when they happen. If you don't recognize it, then you'll keep going and going, and but nothing's happening. It's not working. What's the matter? Well, you have to learn to adjust your energy. You have to learn to adjust everything so that you're in balance. And when you're in balance, your mindfulness is strong, and you stay on your object of meditation without any effort at all. And it's actually kind of fun, even though you're doing the same thing over and over again. That's like against the American way. The American way is to do something once or twice and quit. Okay, as Anuruddha I was abiding, diligent, ardent, and resolute. My object of meditation disappeared. I considered thus, after asking, what's the cause and why is this happening? I considered thus, longing arose in me. Because of longing, my collectedness fell away. When my collectedness fell away, the object of meditation disappeared. I shall so act that neither doubt nor inattention nor deficiency of energy nor longing will arise in me again. Biggest problem for most people is they want nibbana. They're longing for nibbana. And what does longing do? It makes you put in too much energy, It's not a balanced kind of energy, and you have your expectations there, and that turns into all kinds of different hindrances. Yeah, but I've been meditating for 35 years. It's time for it to happen. Well, as long as you're longing for it, you got another 35 years. You have to let go of it. Now, there is something that's called chanda, which is a wholesome desire. What is a wholesome desire? A wholesome desire is pointing your mind in the direction of attaining nibbana without taking it personally or making yourself try too hard. It's just going, okay, this is the path to nibbana. I'm going to follow that path. That's chanda. That's enough. This longing for overcoming all suffering is strong. I wish it would hurry up and get here. I'm suffering so much.
Haven't I paid enough dues?
Yeah. So you have to be able to recognize that that's what's happening in your mind. I mean, that man in South Korea, he was longing for nibbana, and he was waiting for it to happen. You have to let it go. Why? Because it pulls you out of the present moment. It is a kind of hindrance that arises. It is a distraction. And it's real easy to get attached to that distraction. That's why it's so important to ask the question, why and what's causing me not to go deeper? Is there anything that I need to know so I can go deeper in my practice? The answer comes. Sometimes it's real simple, sometimes it's a little bit more complicated, but that's okay. See, the whole thing with the Buddha's practice is understanding. Okay, and when you understand what craving is and how craving manifests, and then you start noticing it in your head, then you're on the road to letting it go, because you understand it. You have to understand all of these subtle little hindrances, little distractions. You have to be able to recognize them and let them be. I'm set in the way that I think. Nibbana has to happen this way. No, it doesn't. Well, Nibbana is this. No, it's not. You have to let go of all of those kind of thoughts. You have to develop what Suzuki Roshi used to say, you have to have a beginner's mind. Do you know what's going to happen next? Why want it to happen? Why project it? How it's going to happen? Be a newbie. It's the best. Because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't have any past experience. So you don't have that kind of subtle distraction pulling you away from your object of meditation. Blocking you from going deeper. Yeah, but I've been doing these meditation for years and years. I know what's going to happen next. Really?
Teacher,
Yeah.
in
you help me clarify a point here? In my practice, the issue of courage is always with me because I hold the following view as tightly as I know how. And it served me, I think, somewhat well. For many years I made no progress at all. I tried as hard as I could. And I finally found that I had certain ideas about everything.
Yeah.
This is what it is. This is reality. This is how I think about it. Held so deeply and for so long that they weren't noticeable as part of what I was doing. What I began to find is that almost all the time, if I could recognize and summon the courage to see something new that I'd never seen before and make that step forward, I could make a little bit of progress.
Right.
The fear that I had, and the reason that I call it courage, was because I knew that I couldn't prepare for this new knowledge in any way possible, because then it wouldn't be new knowledge, it would be a variation of what I'd already seen masquerading as new knowledge.
Yeah.
And so I had to somehow, if you will, get naked and go forward.
Yeah,
if it makes any sense at all.
Absolutely.
And that, I couldn't develop a trick or a technique or anything to take that step forward. It's a man on a 40-foot pole. Where does he step next? That's the feeling I've always had. No matter which way you go, you die. And that tension is the same sort of tension I feel about our common goal. Is there nirvana? It's scary as all hell to me. But the next step, I have to convince myself that I have the courage to find that place I'm holding on tight and let go a little so I can know where the fingers are that are holding. And so I have to incrementally work every trick I know how to... Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Can you comment on what I'm doing? Is this so much wasted effort, or is there some value to this?
You have to be brave to be doing this practice because you are changing. Okay? But you have so much suffering that you go, anything is better than this.
That's very much my approach.
Yeah. The 6 R's is something that you can become very familiar with, and you start gaining more and more confidence with it, so that when little scary things start to arise, you have the confidence with the 6 R's that you'll be able to overcome it. So that's the courage, is learning to trust the 6 R's. Because this will take you to Nibbana, I promise you.
So the amount of effort necessary to take the next step, you spoke about, and you know my training, it's foot to the floor, putting the engine in, nitro gas, whatever it takes, go. And I find that sometimes it's helpful to apply extra effort. I want to sit through this restlessness just a little bit more. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And then I can relax into it. But that making the vow to be resolute, I guess, and trust the process takes a lot of what feels like a huge amount of effort, but then I can kick back. So I'm constantly on this. Most of the time that's way more than I need, that's way more than I need, that's way more than I need.
Yeah.
And most of the effort is in holding on to my opinion about what the world really is.
Yeah.
and the rest of it is on trying my very best not to hold on to that effort. And so I'm sort of talking myself into the answer here, aren't I?
So why do you think I suggest to you that I want you to laugh?
You know,
And smile.
there's something
Because that
so
keeps your-
elegantly simple
Oh,
about doing something other than what's unpleasant. As I am right now.
yeah.
Changed from that grim speech I just gave. That's very good. That's an object lesson I needed. Thank you. Thank you, teacher. That was wonderful.
Sometimes it's so simple. But that's the biggest problem with our human condition, is we hear something simple and then we forget it and turn it into this massive, big problem and make it as complicated as we possibly can. And then somebody comes along and says, well, it's just this little bump in the road, just laugh with it. What else can you do? Oh.
Yeah, you made me do it in front of witnesses. The Sangha is truly a wonderful place. Truly is a wonderful place.
Okay. As Anuruddha, I was abiding, diligent, ardent, and resolute. My object of meditation disappeared. I ask, what is the cause and condition? That's an important question. And you can ask it of yourself anytime you think it is appropriate. I considered thus. I really don't understand this part. Perception of diversity arose in me. Perception of change arose in me. How did that turn into a hindrance? Because, and this is just coming to me right now, we want things to be the same. Okay, that's the whole idea of having a God around. I can always pray to him and he'll take care of it. He never changes. He's the same yesterday and the same tomorrow. He's always going to be permanent. He's always going to be there. And it's scary to realize that everything is impermanent. Nothing in this universe is permanent. Everything is in a state of change. And everything that arises is impersonal. You know, which sense door is not personal? All of them are not personal. Which one is, can I hold on to and make sure that it's always going to be the same? Okay, Buddha said the world is this two fathom body? 2 meter body? Something like that. Fathom. That's the world. And the world is absolutely impersonal. It's always changing, always moving. Sit still. Can you? It's impossible. I mean, you're on a planet that's moving. How can you sit still? So it all comes down to the perspective. Okay? When your perspective is, I am that, everything that comes up is difficult. It's complicated. And when you laugh, you change your perspective from I am that to it's only that. that just simplified the whole process. That little bump in the road that looked like Mount Everest that you couldn't get over or under or around is just this little boop. Okay, that's fine, it can do that. It can be there. It's not mine anyway.
And it's a cute bump.
Okay, as in Aruda I was abiding, diligent, ardent, and resolute. My object of meditation disappeared. I asked the question, why did it do that? I considered thus: excessive meditation upon your object of meditation. And because of excessive meditation, my collectedness fell away. Now, what this means, it's not talking about excessive meditation of smiling all the time, of laughing when you get caught. It's being serious with your meditation. And you start putting in that trying effort. So on my desk, when you came in, well, this afternoon, I had a picture of Yoda. Okay, there is no try. There's do or don't do. And I started using that so much in Indonesia at the retreats, they started repeating me. Because they'd come in and I'd tell them with their interview, I'd tell them I'll do this or do that. Well, I'll try. No, don't try. Do it. Or don't do it. Try means you can make an excuse if you're not successful. So the excessive meditation means putting tightness into your meditation. And this is basically talking about not having the relaxed step in your meditation. And going more towards that one-pointed concentration. As an Aruda, I understood that doubt is an imperfection of mind. I abandoned doubt, an imperfection of mind. I understood that inattention, sloth and torpor, fear, elation, inertia, excess of energy, deficiency of energy, longing, perception of diversity, excessive meditation upon forms, is an imperfection of mind. I abandoned all of these, the imperfections of mind. As an Aruda, I was abiding, diligent, ardent, and resolute. I perceived the object of meditation, but I couldn't quite see the visualization. At other times I saw the visualization, but I couldn't perceive that radiance that comes off of it. Even for a whole day and a whole night and a day, I thought, what is the cause and condition of this? When I considered thus, on the occasion when I did not attend to the sign of your object of meditation with interest, then my meditation was an imbalance. As an Aruda, I was abiding, diligent, ardent, and resolute. I perceived the limited object of meditation. And I saw limited visualization. Now, when you're practicing the Brahma Viharas, you get an image of sending loving kindness out. That's the visualization that you're using, that image. Quite often I don't use the word visualization because it's an image. Okay, some people, they image just by knowing that they're sending loving kindness to all beings in all the directions. Some people have to, they seem to want to visualize all beings in all directions. They can do that. It's still imaging, both ways. For some people, it's very easy to visualize. For some people, it's not. But you can image. Everybody can image it. And this is not imagine. This is holding an image of radiating loving kindness in all directions at the same time.
Bhante?
Yeah.
Some people have said on the discussion group that this sutta is talking about nimitta.
No.
Can you talk about
Absolutely not. A nimitta arises because of one-pointed concentration. Nimittas do not arise. Nimitta is a Pali word that means a sign arising. In a way, you can say loving kindness is a nimitta. But the way they're talking about nimitta is when you practice one-pointed concentration, when you get to deep enough, at least to access concentration, you have a disc arise in your mind, and that's called the sign. And the disc is like looking at the moon or something like that. It's a real nice, shimmery kind of disc. When they do that, they let go of their object of meditation of either the breath or loving kindness or whatever, and they use that as their object of meditation. Then they have what's called a counter sign, which is a different form of nimitta, where you really focus deeply on this disc. And it becomes so intense concentration that you don't feel anything in your body. Somebody come up and talk to you, you wouldn't hear them. I've been around people that have been like that. When you get to the third jhana, I can come up and I can take a stick and hit you on the head. You wouldn't know it. I moved people's limbs around that were sitting, all of a sudden they had their hands up like this. And their hands came down and they would touch something and they would stop. So he was sitting in meditation like this. I moved his hands up here. He gets out of meditation and he goes, what is this? He didn't know. How is that called full awareness? And it's because of that focus on the nimitta that is causing the problem. When you practice one-pointed concentration, your mind is just on that one point. That's it. When you're practicing this kind of meditation, your mindfulness is that. So, when you take the nimitta as your object of meditation, you are doing a different form of meditation than what the Buddha taught. Now, it's interesting in Pali that when you look in the text, nimitta is, I think it's mentioned twice, and not in the context of the sign that comes up into your head. It means a sign, and so a sign can be almost anything. Your object of meditation, I can call that a nimitta, because it is a sign. but you have full awareness and you have mindfulness and full awareness of what's happening. So the definition of nimitta is something that has been carried over from the Brahmin practice of extreme one-pointedness of mind, absorption, concentration. And that kind of nimitta never arises in the Buddha's practice. Yes?
Because I struggle with my own, I have a vivid imagination, and I would like you to address what you mean by anybody can image that isn't the same as imagination.
Right.
I need clarity there.
Okay. You have an idea that you're poor. Just for instance, okay? You have an idea of the poor. You're holding an image of this is your condition. And because you hold that image, the universe gives you what you hold. Okay. Now, when we're talking about meditation and an image, you're holding an idea of radiating to all beings. You're not visualizing it. You're having that image in your mind.
So the concept of it is sufficient. You don't
Yes.
have to see it like
You don't have to see it.
The idea of all beings, just
Right.
the idea of it is sufficient.
Right.
Okay.
That help?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this section is helpful too.
Okay. When Anuruddha, I understood that doubt is an imperfection of mind and had abandoned doubt and imperfection of mind. When I understood that inattention was an imperfection of mind and had abandoned inattention, abandoned sloth and torpor, abandoned fear, abandoned elation, abandon inertia, abandon excess of energy, abandon deficiency of energy, abandon longing, abandon perception of diversity, abandon excessive meditation upon your object of meditation, and imperfection of mind. Then I thought, I have abandoned all of these imperfections of mind. Now let me develop collectedness in 3 ways. Thereupon, Anuruddha, I developed collectedness with thinking and examining thought. I developed collectedness without thinking and examining thought. It says without thinking, but with examining thought only. I develop collectedness without thinking and without examining thought. I develop collectedness with joy. I develop collectedness without joy, with happiness. I develop collectedness accompanied by happiness. I develop collectedness accompanied by equanimity. Now, he just described getting through all of the 4 jhanas. Okay, the rupa jhanas, the material jhanas. When Anuruddha, I develop collectedness with thinking and examining thought. When I develop collectedness accompanied by equanimity, the knowledge and vision arose in me. My deliverance is unshakable. This is my last birth. Now what he's talking about, the 4th jhana has 4 sections to it. Okay, the 4th jhana has equanimity. And the 4th jhana is where the immaterial jhanas can arise. It's still technically part of the fourth jhana, but a lot of people like to say the fifth jhana, sixth jhana, seventh jhana, eighth jhana, like that. So when he's talking about this is his last birth and he'd become an arahat, he's talking about going through all of the jhanas, having the cessation of perception, feeling, and consciousness, coming out of the cessation of perception, feeling, and consciousness, and seeing the links of dependent origination. Now, the first time this happens, these links are going to be very quick. It's going to be hard to recognize them. It's not like regular thinking about them. It's going to be like little.
They don't go by and say, "Hi, I'm ignorance. Hi, I'm formations."
Yeah. It happens really fast. Okay. Flickers. That's it. Thank you. And because that happened, your mind goes, wow. And then you experience Nibbana. What is Nibbana? Every thought that you have is conditioned. Okay, what do I mean by conditioned? This is a chair. Where is the chair? Is it the arms? Is it the legs? Is it the back? Is it the seat? Chair is a concept made up of a lot of different parts put together to make up the idea of a chair. Every thought you have, every thinking process is conditioned. It is concept. Okay? Nibbana is the unconditioned. There's no more concepts. How do you describe that? You only have words that are concepts. So how can you describe something that has no concepts? There are no conditions. So I don't get into it. I don't know how to describe it other than that. In the Anguttara Nikaya, it says you make a sandcastle right close to the edge of the water, and that's like that's the human being, and the thing that's holding the human being together is gravy. Now a wave comes along to the sandcastle and knocks it down. Everything that makes up the human being, everything that makes up that castle is still there, but you can't put it together again in exactly the same way because you've let go of craving and ignorance completely. Okay? Don't know how to describe Nibbana any other way outside of it's worth it. Did you start saying?
No, you can talk about what it isn't, but you can't talk about what it is. You can knock off the concepts that lead to disappear. You know, like can't get
It is void of this, void of that.
right.
Well, Ni is no and fire is Bana.
Right. Yeah.
No fire.
No fire, no heat at all. No conditions, no concepts. It's worth it. Okay, my deliverance is unshakable. This is my last birth. There is no renewal of being. That is what the Blessed One said. The Venerable Anuruddha was satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. So, Kilesa means basically hindrance, obstruction, distraction.
Is that klesha? Klesha in Sanskrit?
Yes.
Klesha, yeah. Kleshas. I think in the Brahman thing there's 10 kleshas. Yeah, there's 10.
There's 10 here too. And Buddhaghosa in the Visuddhimagga took this Kilesas and made up what he thought was good. And just threw it in and said, these are the Upakkilesas. But it doesn't match up with the suttas. And that's a big problem with using the Visuddhimagga as your guide. There's interesting stuff, and you can learn stuff from the Visuddhimagga, but always go to the suttas to check out to see if it matches what the suttas say. When it's talking about morality, actually the Visuddhimagga is quite good. You can learn a lot from the first section of the Visuddhimagga. When it starts talking about meditation, Buddhaghosa didn't understand meditation. He was a scholar. He had memorized all of the Vedas. And then he became a Buddhist monk. So when he got to the section on meditation, he said, well, meditation is meditation, right? It's all the same, right? I know what the Vedas say. I don't know what the Buddha said. So I'm going to put in what the Vedas say and put it in Buddhist terms. And that's what he did. And because of that book, an awful lot of people that practice meditation are not able to attain Nibbana when they keep following what is said there. Buddhaghosa took samatha meditation and vipassana and made them two different meditations. In the section on mindfulness, there are 9 insights that Buddhaghosa talks about. 9. Mahasi Sayadaw came along, wrote a sub-commentary for the Visuddhimagga, and he added another 7 insight knowledges. And none of those insight knowledges are mentioned in the suttas.
The librarian and I had a discussion about this at the university, and it was Visuddhimagga. They would like to put it back in the reference department.
Yeah.
This was our discussion. Should it be over there where the texts are, or should it be in the reference section? And he wanted to keep it in there. He did. He kept it in the reference section. I thought very highly of that. Instead of the main source, bookcases.
Yeah.
You moved it over.
But there are some things in the Visuddhimagga that are very interesting that do match up with the suttas in kind of a surface way.
How about the contemplation of the Buddha? Does that match up with any sutta?
Yes. And the Dhamma and the Sangha. Yes.
Well, when you paraphrased what the Buddha did in terms of his descriptions of you said the 4 jhanas, but wouldn't that really describe the 4 bases too? Because he did
4
say
bases of what?
Well, the 4 bases. I mean, the 4, the base of infinite space.
Oh, okay.
Infinite consciousness.
The 4 realms. Okay.
The 4 realms. Oh, realms. Okay. So, but doesn't equanimity, if he said he achieved finally equanimity and deliverance, equanimity would describe neither perception nor non-perception, which is,
Well, it describes every one of the arupa jhana.
right, that's what I mean. So
It's
it's
in
really
there.
inclusive of all,
Yes.
right, okay. Because so it agrees with the other, with one by one as it occurred.
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, I'm just wanted to make sure, that's what I thought, and I just wanted to check with you.
Okay.
Is there something in the Visuddhimagga that correlates with the dependent origination? I got two questions.
Yes.
That one, and another,
Go ahead.
and some of the Burmese teachers, like Paul Sayadaw, talk about stream entry, but I don't think that it's the same frame of reference that is found here in the canon.
Right, because he is following the Visuddhimagga. He memorized the Visuddhimagga and follows it very closely.
Right.
Now, dependent origination is in the Visuddhimagga, and it's divided into 3 lifetimes. Okay? Now, in a way, depending on your perspective, that can be in one thought moment. Those 3 lifetimes can be in one the thought moments that can be happening very, very quickly, but it's not read that way. It's read that you can only experience the the perception, the imaging. I don't remember how it's divided. Do you?
Yeah, there's ignorance. There's ignorance, formations, conscience. That's past life rolling over. Okay, and then from there, mentality, materiality, 6 sense doors, contact, feeling, craving, clinging, habitual tendency.
And birth. Or this, no, and that's this lifetime, and then
Yeah,
birth
this
and
time,
death.
and then birth and death go in the next lifetime. I think that's how it is. But there's one interesting thing about this whole book that I didn't know, and that is that he's been the author at the University of Hawaii. What was his name? You have it?
Dave Kalapana?
It begins with an H, and he's in his 70s now. Anyway, I met a professor that was there with him when he was doing all the research on this, and he claimed that cut and dry that he rewrote the Vimalaramsi as the Visuddhimagga, and then added stuff in the part section about that the meditation.
Yeah. Right.
That there had been another book before he did this, so it isn't in. I looked at that and said, wow, it isn't entirely his fault, is it? But the section on meditation was really massaged by him from his personal experience, how he grew up, he experienced that.
Well,
When
he
you-
didn't experience it, but he knew
Yeah.
about it.
Buddhaghosa,
Oh, Buddhaghosa.
who wrote the Visuddhimagga, is
Right.
actually sort of taking the Vimalaramsi and making it the
He
Visuddhimagga.
expanded it, is what he did.
And
What's the
expanding it.
Vasu? I never heard
The
of
The
it.
Vimalaramsi.
Vimalaramsi was
It's-
written by supposedly Arahat Agachita.
And we don't have a lot of English in it. We have an Old English translation that's in the BPS that we can get, but we don't
I
have
have
any
one
much
coming.
new stuff on that because of the people like the Pawak teaching with this very big push for the Visuddhimagga, and the West has been enraptured by the Visuddhimagga because we've been drenched in it
Yeah.
as an authoritative work when it isn't. See? So
It's a compilation of commentaries, is that what it is? By
Well,
one person?
that's
Is that, would that?
that's another thing I
What would
found
you
out.
say it is then?
It is. That's another thing.
It
I
was a
always,
commentary.
I always thought it was a commentary of 100 commentaries. I always
That's what I
thought that.
thought.
Okay, and this professor explained to me that it was all entirely based on 2 phrases. Tangles. What is it? Tangles without, tangles within. The world is full and totally tangled. When shall someone come and untangle these tangles of tangles? That was the statement. And then he did this project. That's what set him off. It was based on these 2 famous little verses.
Oh, wow.
You're
And
tangled without and tangled within. The whole world is full of tangles. That's what set the whole thing off. And then he had those 100 commentaries to work with, see, in that library. And that's what he dove into to solve and answer the problem. And then they burned up. And then we only had what he had
The
said
library
they said.
burnt down, right?
Right, where they were.
In
And they disappeared.
Sri Lanka.
And there aren't any copies.
Right.
No Xerox, man. What are we going to do?
And he took the relay chariots, Sutta number 24, and he incorporated a lot of what he did, making up his own ideas from this sutta.
It's a beautiful sutta.
It is, but I have my doubts on it.
Oh, really?
Isn't
That's
that
one of
the
his
way to
knowledge
clench?
and vision and.
Is it the clenching or?
The thing
I'm
that
not
made
gonna
me
read
feel
it to
really
you.
good was once you get out of this country, boy, it's a real hot topic in the universities in Asia. They really discuss this stuff openly, and everybody's always talking, and nobody hates anybody about it. It's just great, you know. But when you come back in the States, you better not talk about that. You know? It's really tough.
Mark?
I was at BCBS last year, and Shada Catherine has been a student of Pollux Iodos, just in the process of publishing a book on his teachings and jhana practice and everything else. And she's a very dedicated teacher and practitioner, but it's all coming out of the commentarial information. So I'm just going to tell you that book is coming out soon, and it's just Visuddhi Mega from the get-go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sounds like fun.
Bhikkhu Bodhi is finally publishing the Anguttara Nikaya.
Right, is it
And
coming
it
out
will
this
be
year?
out this
Year?
August.
Was that her and her husband, Mark? Is that couple that was studying with him? I read so much about.
I don't know that she's married, so I don't know. I can't comment on that.
We went to visit her, Bhante Vimalaramsi.
But she's an active teacher, I think, up in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And she has a
Mhm.
sangha up there,
Yeah.
and she's published a couple
I
of books, and she has a real commitment to practice. It's quite dedicated.
Yeah, we went to the Sutta discussion group, and I wanted to get Bhante to read 111 because it's a jhana group, and that didn't happen. I think they read one.
Ooh.
That didn't work out so well. She didn't want to hear it really.
So is the Anguttara Nikaya that's being published, is that the one that's going to incorporate the versions that were from the ancient Chinese that were, no, that's Bhikkhu.
Well,
You're
it's
thinking
going to
about
have some
Analia.
of them in there.
Analia.
It's not going to be, they're
Ana-
not going to be identical.
Analio's working on that big compilation of the Chinese and the English.
Yeah, but that's the Anguttara Nikaya, right? Or am I wrong?
No, it's
No.
not.
Well, what's he working on?
The Chinese suttas
The
and
agamas.
the agamas.
Oh, the Agamas.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there an English translation of those already?
Old
What are
Some, not all.
They're the Chinese suttas.
Yeah.
But he
And
has
some of them match up real well, and some
Yeah.
of them really don't.
Yeah, his thing was pulling the Mahayana agamas
interesting.
into the
yeah, he has,
Pali canon.
he has that
and
study
everything.
group, and they review one a week.
Mhm.
And I heard a few of them, and some of them agree pretty close.
Yeah.
And then some of them are like, winging. It's like, yeah, so, but it's good to get the ideas of like, how people were either thinking about it, interpreting it, or reciting it.
Have you heard anything about the Gandhar texts, Gandhari texts that were found? And they're supposedly from 200 AD. They haven't been fully translated into English yet, but
That's the ones that's at Seattle when we went there.
The ones that were under the
We were-
Buddhists in Afghanistan.
yeah.
We were in on some of the translation work, and
Mhm.
that was sent to seven 7 different universities around the world
Yeah.
for translation work to be done, pieces of it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And we were with the Seattle group 3 years ago, I can't remember, and sat through 2 sessions of about 5 or 6 hours. And it was a very interesting experience to do that because it's turned over to a linguistics department. And then they bring in a couple people, it was mainly Mahayana people attending, and then we were there. And the interesting thing was about it, they're trying to decipher this thing on the board. You only get to work on 2 sentences in 5 or 6 hours. It's really agonizing. But when they're picking out the words to use, the frustrating thing was, if this had been a Roman village, that you were discussing how the architecture was built, I could see them doing this the way they were doing it. But actually, this was a monk who had been writing about this practice, and it's a functional practice. You see, so you have these Mahayanas over here who are demanding that it's these words, and we were sitting there saying, yeah, but you know, it could be this word or these words, and that makes it in line with our practice. And the ones that we were working on really did line up with our practices. It was only four lines, but it was really fascinating me, and I don't know if they kept the suggestions.
The Visuddhimagga was their preference.
Their preference of reference, you see. The whole group had
We
the
were
Visuddhimagga as a
walking
preference.
away, the monk came up to me and he said, "Why do you hate the Visuddhimagga?" I said, "I don't hate it, but it doesn't agree with the original teachings. There's a lot of problems with it."
When I mentioned to you open-mindedness, like in Korea, when he gave the talk at the Korean university for the monks and nuns, there were like 300 some odd people in that room listening to him and everything. And the dean was so excited by the practice Bhante was presenting that he wanted to leave the school and go to Malaysia and spend 7 days with him in retreat. And they didn't get together, you know. But his idea, from what we understand from the person who was closest working with the dean, was he really wanted to inject this practice into their 800-year-old tradition because it was something that worked. And he tried it a few times, and she did it, came to our retreat, and he saw how it worked with her, and it lasted. And he was amazed. And their whole problem is an 800-year-old tradition, and it's not working, and the people aren't coming to learn it, and he's trying to produce monks and nuns, and they don't understand how they're going to be supported, you see? This is very interesting how that all happens, really.
Yeah, they even got up and clapped for me. I'm not used to having people clap.
We'd be happy to do that.
You want to get desensitized? We'll clap every day.
It shocked us the first
See,
time.
claps for you.
In 2006, when we went to Japan, it shocked us. You know, we're going up, walking, the first time going into a temple and walking down the aisle with the flowers they gave us to bow to the Buddha and put the flowers there and then stand up. And as soon as we prostrated and put the flowers and stood up, 600 people started clapping. And I was like,
and
this,
they clapped until we went all the way out of the room.
out of the building, you know, and then, you know, I give a talk to like 380 people in Sri Lanka, not a word, that's, you know,
that's the way it's
it doesn't
supposed to
happen. It's like our churches, it doesn't happen. Well, my church anyway, the way it was. Not all churches are like that, but
be. Yeah. Okay.
it's different.
Anybody else?
I imagine that Anaruddha wasn't an arahat yet at that time.
No, he was not an arahat at that time.
Okay.
Now, what that tells you historically is that I think it was in the 4th year of the Buddha's teaching that Anaruddha, Ananda, Dhammapali, I can't remember the barber's name. Upali, yeah. They became monks. So you have to suspect that this was between 4 and 5 years after the Buddha started teaching. And became an arahat not too long after that, after this discourse.
So the Vinaya was written and developed enough to have a whole
That's right, the Vinayas in that. See, the Vinaya didn't come into being until 20 years after the Buddha started teaching. So there's something weird that's happening here, because Anuruddha was one of the earlier, and it's I read somewhere, and I'm not real sure where, that it took him 1 year of practice or something like that to become an arahat. So that makes this a little confusing. But that's okay, because that's my state all the time. So. Yeah.
Bhante, with your permission, in regards to the Visuddhimagga, as to how it came about or why he wrote it, it was Buddhaghosa's carte blanche, basically. It's his credential to be accepted in the Mahavihara in Sri Lanka, because at the time there was a major schism going on. And he came over to that Grand Vihara monastery, but they all doubted his basically his papers, you know, as a Buddhist monk, as a bona fide Theravadan Buddhist monk. So he spent, I don't know how long, but he wrote it as his dissertation.
Yeah, but he wasn't allowed to write that before he wrote one before. There was one before that was his ticket.
Three times. They said
then he was allowed to do this one.
Yeah. So they say that every night that he went to bed with the book under his pillow, spirits or certain devas would come and steal it, so that he proves that he can write the same thing again verbatim, because he's writing it as if from his own experience.
Right, and I believe that.
So that's
he wrote a 1,000-page book verbatim without making a mistake. And it all came back and compared them and said, yeah, he did it. Yeah, I believe that.
So that's the myth.
Yeah. It really is. Okay, let's share some merit. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we've thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddhist dispensation.